What up, y'all? It's your boy Big C back here with another video. Today we're going to be making some 2020-2021 NBA season standing predictions. But before we get into this, I got a surprise for my loyal subscribers out here. When we reach 50 subscribers and we're inching near every day, I'm going to be giving away a $25 Amazon gift card to any one of my subscribers. To enter this giveaway, I need you guys to go hit the subscribe button down below, and in any single one of my videos, comment your favorite NBA player. Okay, let's get into this. Today we're going to be starting with the Eastern Conference. The Eastern Conference this year is going to be the most competitive that we've seen it in years, with the resurgence of Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving coming back healthy, and every single team in the Eastern Conference getting better by a little bit. There's only 3 teams this year that I don't see having a chance to make the playoffs, and it's my 15th seed and the Detroit Pistons. Although they made some good signings this season with Jeremy Grant and Mason Plumlee, and the good draft pick of Killian Hayes, I don't see this team having a ceiling of higher than the 14th seed this season, and they're one of my 3 teams that don't have a chance to make the playoffs this season. Another one of those teams is my 14th seed, the New York Knicks. Although the New York Knicks made a great draft pick in Obi Toppin, and I'm predicting him to be the Rookie of the Year this season, I don't see R.J. Barrett, Obi Toppin, and Mitchell Robinson being able to carry this team to even the playoff tournament this year. My 13th seed is the Cleveland Cavaliers. Although their draft pick in Isaac Okoro seems to be instantly NBA ready with his performance in the preseason the other night, I don't see Kevin Love, Andre Drummond, Isaac Okoro, Colin Sexton, and Darius Garland being able to carry this team anywhere close to the NBA play-in tournament this year. But those are my only 3 teams that I don't see having a chance to make the playoffs this year. My first team that I have a chance of making the playoffs this year is my 12 seed Chicago Bulls. Although the Chicago Bulls disappointed a lot of people last year with the rough head coaching job of Jim Boylen and their young players not panning out, such as Lauri Markkanen, I see the Chicago Bulls, under the head coaching ability of Billy Donovan, being able to make a push for the playoffs this year. And I think they have a chance if people like Zach LaVine, Lauri Markkanen, Wendell Carter, Kobe White, and even Patrick Williams can have solid seasons this year. My 11th seed, the Charlotte Hornets. The pick of Gordon Hayward, although his contract may be very large, and their draft pick of LaMelo Ball, could slingshot this team to making the play-in tournament this year. Although I don't think that they will end up making the playoff tournament, if LaMelo Ball can play amazing this year and Gordon Hayward can keep on playing like Gordon Hayward, along with the great performance of Terry Rozier and Devontae Graham last season, this team could possibly make the play-in tournament. My 10 seed Atlanta Hawks. Led by Trae Young and John Collins, with the addition of Danilo Gallinari, Chris Dunn, and Rondo this offseason, this team had one of the best offseasons in basketball. This team, I believe, makes the NBA play-in tournament, and although I don't think they'll end up getting the 8 seed or 7 seed in this year's playoffs, I do think that they'll have a very improved season and that they have a chance of making the NBA playoffs this season. My 9 seed Orlando Magic. The Orlando Magic are a team that hasn't really committed to the rebuild, but hasn't committed to getting better, and they'll always be around the 7, 8, 9, 10 seed in the Eastern Conference as long as they play like this. They're solid enough with players like Aaron Gordon, Nikola Vucevic, and Evan Fournier to be around this spot, but I don't see them going any higher than the 8th seed in the Eastern Conference this year. I believe they'll make the Eastern Conference play-in tournament, but I don't believe that they'll end up making the playoffs this season. For my first playoff spot, I have the 8th seed Washington Wizards. When they traded John Wall and a first-round pick for Russell Westbrook, many people were skeptical about how the Russell Westbrook-Bradley Beal duo would work out in Washington, but I think that they'll do great this season and they end up taking a playoff spot in Washington alongside players like Davis Bertans and Thomas Bryant. For the 7th seed, I have one of the 7 solidified playoff teams in the Eastern Conference. I have the Indiana Pacers, led by players like Victor Oladipo, Domantas Sabonis, TJ Warren, and Malcolm Brogdon. I don't see a way this team does not make the playoffs. Every single year, they hover around this area because they're a very, very solid team in the NBA, but all 6 teams in front of them in the Eastern Conference are better than them, and I don't see a way they go higher than the 7th seed, but I also don't see a way they go lower than the 7th seed. My 6th seed, I have them falling a lot from last season in the Toronto Raptors. Last year in the bubble, Pascal Siakam showed that he might not be as amazing of a player as everybody thought. Although he had an amazing regular season, he struggled very, very much in the playoffs, And luckily, Fred VanVleet, OG Anunoby, and Kyle Lowry are able to lead them to the Eastern Conference semis to lose to the Boston Celtics in 7 games last year. I expect a downfall of Kyle Lowry this season, and although I still think he'll be an elite point guard in the NBA, I do not believe that he'll be as effective and efficient as he has been in the past seasons. I do expect Fred VanVleet to make another step in his NBA career, and OG Anunoby to make another step in his NBA career, which is why I have them as the 6th seed this season. My 5 seed, the Philadelphia 76ers. Every season, people have huge expectations of the Philadelphia 76ers, and every year, the Philadelphia 76ers let people down. I don't see this season being any different. Although they added a great piece in Seth Curry, and they got rid of the huge contract in Al Horford, I don't see Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid staying healthy all season, and I don't see this team really doing much in the playoffs, although they will be a 5 seed in the Eastern Conference this year. My 4th seed, Brooklyn Nets. This may seem as a surprising pick since they have Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, and they could be favorites to come out the East. But because of their past injuries, I don't see Kyrie and Kevin Durant playing a lot of games this season, and that load management could make the Nets fall all the way to the 4th seed in the Eastern Conference. Nevertheless, I do see the Brooklyn Nets being a top 4 seed in the regular season in the Eastern Conference this season, and I think they will make it far in the playoffs this year regarding no injuries. The 3 seed, last year's Eastern Conference champions, the Miami Heat. The Miami Heat surprised everybody in the bubble last season. And although I don't think they'll have as amazing season this year as last year, I expect players like Kendrick Nunn, Duncan Robinson, and Tyler Hero to develop even more this season, and I expect them to be a top 3 seed in the Eastern Conference. For my final 2 seeds in the Eastern Conference, I have my Boston Celtics at the 2nd seed. With the addition of players like Jeff Teague and Tristan Thompson, the depth of this Boston Celtics team may have grown even farther, even though the departure of Gordon Hayward may have hurt their star power. The Boston Celtics are always a team that are going to be a top 3, top 4 seed in the Eastern Conference, and I don't see this season being any different, and I expect the Boston Celtics to make it far in the Eastern Conference this year. And the last team left in the Eastern Conference, the Milwaukee Bucks. The Milwaukee Bucks, with the addition of Drew Holiday, should be even better than they were last season, and last season they were on pace to win 70 games. Although the Bucks are questionable since they lost to the Miami Heat in the Eastern Conference semis last year in the playoffs, I do expect Giannis to be coming out for vengeance this season and to go off in the playoffs, and I expect the Milwaukee Bucks to come out of the Eastern Conference next season. Now on to the Western Conference. The Western Conference is going to be even more competitive than the Eastern Conference this season. There are up to 13 teams I can see possibly making the playoffs this year in the Western Conference. That is unspoken of. The Western Conference is going to be something crazy to watch every single night this coming season. There's only 2 teams I don't see having a chance to make the playoffs, and that's the 15 seed OKC Thunder. The OKC Thunder over the past couple seasons have committed to a full-on rebuild, and although they're doing an amazing job of their rebuild, their team this year, led by Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Al Horford, will not be able to make the playoffs. They can have outstanding seasons, but there is absolutely zero chance this team can make the playoffs. I know if they do end up making the playoffs, people will be taking this video of me right here and saying I look like an idiot, but I'll take that chance because there is no way this OKC Thunder team makes the playoffs as much as I would love to see it. My other team that will not be making the playoffs is the San Antonio Spurs. With old stars like DeMar DeRozan and LaMarcus Aldridge and young stars like DeJounte Murray, I do not see this team doing much this season. Although they're still led by one of the best coaches in NBA history in Greg Popovich, this team is finally going downhill. After over 20 years of an amazing franchise, this team has finally met its downfall, and it might be time for them finally to commit to the rebuild. My 13 seed, the team with the first overall pick in this past year's NBA draft, the Minnesota Timberwolves. They took Anthony Edwards with the first pick in the NBA draft, and although they traded for D'Angelo Russell and they have Karl Anthony Towns, I don't see these 3 players being able to carry this team to the playoffs this year. As much talent as this team has, I don't think they'll be able to make the playoffs this year because they're lackluster defense. Although their offense may be spectacular, their defense is going to be very lackluster, and I don't see this team doing much in the Western Conference this season. My 12 seed, I have the Phoenix Suns. Although a couple days ago, I was saying that I think that the Phoenix Suns will be making the playoffs, the more I think about it, the more I do not expect Chris Paul to have the amazing season he had last year. Chris Paul is most likely my favorite point guard of all time, and I love to see him succeed, but he is past 35 years old, and I don't see him doing much this season. Although he'll still be an amazing facilitator and he might score around 15 points per game, I do not know if Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton can lead this team to a playoff, but I hope they prove me wrong, and that's why I have them as my 12th seed in this coming season. At the 11th seed, if it wasn't for the NBA play-in tournament in the bubble last season, this team would have made the playoffs, and the Memphis Grizzlies. Led by Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson, this team has one of the best young cores in basketball, and I expect them to improve this year, but the competitiveness in the Western Conference may lead to them not making the playoffs this year, and that's why I have them as the 11th seed. Surprisingly above the Memphis Grizzlies, I have the New Orleans Pelicans, who had a chance to make the playoffs last year in the bubble. Zion Williamson only played 24 games last year, but he showed his superstar potential, and I expect Zion Williamson to average north of 20 points this season and lead this team to making the play-in tournament as the 10th seed. Brandon Ingram and Zion Williamson together, along with players like Jackson Hayes, Steven Adams, Eric Bledsoe, and Lonzo Ball, have a chance to make the playoffs this season, and I think if all these players stay healthy, they'll end up with the 10 seed, and that they might even make the playoffs in the play-in tournament. My 9 seed. This may surprise many people because they have very low expectations coming into the season, but I have the Sacramento Kings. If Marvin Bagley can stay healthy and De'Aaron Fox can keep playing like the young superstar that he is, along with a great season from Buddy Hield, a decent season from Harrison Barnes, and a great defensive season from Hassan Whiteside, I believe this team can keep this 9 seed in the Western Conference. As we get into my playoffs, I have the Houston Rockets as the 8th seed. Losing Russell Westbrook was a big deal for them, and now it seems as if James Harden doesn't want to be there either. Although I am predicting James Harden to be here in this prediction right here, I don't see the Houston Rockets doing much in the NBA this season. Although I do see them as an 8th seed, I don't see James Harden being locked in this season, making him not have as great as a season. And the loss of Russell Westbrook and them having to rely on players that have been injured for years, such as John Wall and DeMarcus Cousins, have them falling all the way to the 8th seed. The Rockets haven't missed the playoffs in forever. And although I don't see this year being any different, I do see a big fall in the Rockets' final standings this year. My 7th seed, the Portland Trailblazers, led by CJ McCollum and Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard, year in and year out, shows that why he should be considered one of the top point guards in the NBA. Every single night, you can expect something spectacular for Damian Lillard. I expect this 72-game season from Damian Lillard to be his best season yet. CJ McCollum always has great seasons. I expect this to be nothing less. And with Jusuf Nurkic fully healthy and their addition of Robert Covington, I expect this team to be a 7th seed. My 6th seed in the Western Conference is the Utah Jazz. Last season in the NBA bubble, Donovan Mitchell showed the superstar that he is blossoming into every day. And I see Donovan Mitchell, along with Rudy Gobert and other solid players on the Utah Jazz, leading this team to the 6th seed in the Western Conference. Although this team is not going to be the same as years past, I do see the Golden State Warriors keeping a 5 seed in the Western Conference. I don't see any possible way where Steph Curry won't make the playoffs this year unless he gets injured like he did last season. And I see the players around him like Kelly Oubre, James Wiseman, Andrew Wiggins, and Draymond Green being too solid for this team not to make the playoffs. That's why I have them at my 5 seed. A surprising pick for my 4 seed is the Los Angeles Clippers. Many people once again have them as a top 2 seed in the Western Conference, but with a 72-game season and Kawhi Leonard having much load management and Paul George having lots of doubts this season, even though he just got a crazy max contract extension, I don't see this team going much higher than the 4th seed. As much as I love the Clippers, and as much as I love Kawhi Leonard, I don't see this team going above the 4th seed this year, and I expect the other LA team to be superior, which I'll show in a second. My 3 seed in the Western Conference this season is the Denver Nuggets. Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic showed what they could do together last season in the bubble, and Michael Porter Jr. showed why he can be one of the best young players in the NBA this season. If these 3 players, along with players like Bol, Paul Millsap, Gary Harris, and Will Barton, can have solid seasons this year, I don't see a way the Denver Nuggets don't end up with a top 5 seed in the Western Conference, and that's why I have them at the 3rd seed this year. My second seed in the Western Conference is the Dallas Mavericks, but led by Luka Doncic and Kristaps Porzingis. This young duo, led by the superstar and Luka Doncic, will have an amazing season this year. I'm predicting Luka Doncic to win MVP and make even a bigger step than he had last year. Luka will absolutely go off in the 72-game season, showing that his young age and his quick-paced play will lead this team to being a 2 seed in the Western Conference. And as you can probably expect, my 1 seed in the Western Conference is the Los Angeles Lakers. Although LeBron James might finally start his regression this year at age 36, I see Anthony Davis taking even a bigger step and finally entering his prime. Anthony Davis is just now at the age where he should become the best that he'll ever be. And I see this season being the start of that. I have Anthony Davis in the MVP race once again for this season, and LeBron James will always be LeBron James. With additions of players like Marc Gasol, Montrezl Harrell, and Dennis Schroeder, I don't see a way that this team does not end up with the 1 seed. After those 30 teams being ranked, my worst team in the NBA this season will be the OKC Thunder. They're in full rebuild mode, and the OKC Thunder will end up with the worst record in basketball this season. On the exact opposite end of the spectrum, my best regular season team this year will be the Milwaukee Bucks. Their addition of Jrue Holiday, along with their star and Chris Middleton and their superstar Giannis Antetokounmpo, will slingshot them to being the best regular season team in the NBA. So there we have it. Those are my 2020-2021 NBA standing predictions. And let me know what you think about them in the comment. And if you want a chance to win that Amazon gift card, comment down below your favorite NBA player and subscribe to the channel. Let's get this thing to 50 subscribers. This is Big C. I'll see you next time, and we out.